Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. This is your boy, the coach, from the WWE. I would like to welcome you to the very first wrestling podcast in the world to take you on a weekly deep dive into classic matches along with legends of the squared circle. Enjoy the discussion. Enjoy the back and forth. There's so much to get into. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the payoff.
The irresistible force meets the immovable object. This is Tom Healy, and as always, I am joined by my co-host Jeffrey Ryan. Jeff, and welcome to Wrestlemania 3!
Good job. Those are better events for you. I appreciated that. Yeah, I am excited, man. This is one. You and I've had this one on the list for a long time.
Woo! You kidding me?
Yeah, and so how can you not talk about it? And so it's just one of those that have to get into it, have to have a conversation about it. But of course, too, appreciate all of you tuning in once again, listening to the show.
Hope you enjoy the road to WrestleMania because we're going all WrestleMania all the time on the payoff, and it's our show. We do whatever the hell we want, but we hope you enjoy it.
It is. We are deep on the road at this point. We are getting closer and closer every week. So very exciting stuff. So glad if you're not already subscribed to the show, make sure you're subscribed. Give us those good reviews, those 5 stars wherever you can. Spread the word about the show. We always appreciate that. So, and then of course that social media at Payoff Pod, at Payoff Jeff, at Payoff Tom. We're all over the place, so you know where to find us. We're bringing you the good stuff. So, already getting into it, Tom. But Tom, why did you want to talk about this one?
Do I even have to explain myself?
No, you don't have to, but let them know at home anyways.
I mean, this does not need an explanation. I mean, there's times where it's really fun to cover this because I forgot how good this angle was, or it's an anniversary, or dude, this is WrestleMania. This is what put WrestleMania on the map. It's Hogan, it's Andre, it's as iconic as WrestleMania and pro wrestling gets. So this is like a no-brainer for us to cover, and I'm so glad that we are. What about you?
Yeah, same thing. Whenever, use it in everyday life or from time to time, but like the, immovable force and irresistible force and immovable object, this is what that was. And in this moment, and these guys at the absolute pinnacle of their career in a lot of ways, how can you not talk about it? And just such a presence with both these guys, even surrounded by 90,000 plus, absolutely worth it. So, ready for the build?
Let's do it.
Let's get to the build.
Oh, it's time for the build.
All right. It's WrestleMania 3, Pontiac, Michigan. Pontiac Silverdome. A few conflicting reports as to how many people are there, but let's just go with 93,173.
We'll never know.
Doesn't matter. Who gives a shit? Meltzer will go to his grave saying there were 70,000 in the building or whatever. Who cares? You know what? There were a ton of people. It was an awesome show. Let's not be sour about the product. God, he is just like your annoying, nephew that, actually, there were only, shut the fuck up. So, March 29th, 1987. Dude, I mean, this was just awesome. What's interesting about this is it's not like this was something where 6 months prior to the event, they were like, here's the main event, tickets are on sale. This all happened relatively close, which is kind of crazy. It was a big show. There was a big card. There was a lot that happened, 12 matches. Obviously, on the undercard, we had one of the greatest matches of all time that I look forward to covering, hint, hint, maybe soon, which is Ricky Steamboat and Randy Savage for the Intercontinental title. A lot happening on the show. many of these wrestlers say this was their favorite night or one of their favorite nights in the business because of how awesome that crowd was. No one had ever seen anything like this, right? There was nothing to compare this to. Madison Square Garden or any of the places these people worked, or having 30 or 40,000 in a stadium. I mean, it's nothing compared to this, and so it's a pretty special night for the folks that were on the show. And then obviously everything on this show built to the main event. The show itself was built around the main event, which is Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. Jeff, as always, you walk us through the build, so let's hear it. How did we get to this ridiculously awesome main event?
Yeah, a little bit of a back and forth here, and like most WrestleMania, a pretty decent little build here. And so what we had was, it was actually started in January. You had Andre going heel and turning and betraying his friend Hulk Hogan, of course. This was actually, and a lot of this revolved around Piper's Pit, which it hasn't come up, I don't think, on this episode yet, but for those who are not familiar with it, Piper's Pit was really like an interview segment run by the Roddy Piper. And so, doing that, what do you do? Best example would be like Alexa Bliss in the Moment of Bliss, or something like that, where, having the, different people there. So a lot of this played out on that. What you had was, it started with, again, this is, I think this is 2 weeks in a row, Jack Tunney, that we're bringing up Jack Tunney. I believe so.
Yes.
So Tom favorite, Jeff favorite, Jack Tunney.
It was the perfect authority figure.
So he actually presented Hulk a trophy because he had been the champion for 3 years. Andre got a trophy, be it a little bit smaller, because he had been undefeated for 4 years. Or, excuse me, undefeated for 15 years. Big difference there. So he hadn't lost. So you got these two different trophies. You got really just kind of clashing egos at this one. You had Jesse Ventura also getting a little involved in this one at the time. Kind of, stroking the flames a little bit. Making sure that everybody knew that these guys hated each other, all that stuff. And so after back and forth for a little bit, here what you had was Andre, he eventually on a Piper's Pit, he came out onto the set with Bobby the Brain Heenan, who was one of Hulk's also adversaries at that point, and kind of, playing the manager valet role perfectly at that point. And so he had announced that he was Andre's manager. And then after this kind of back and forth and the trophies and them just kind of not being a fan of each other and kind of pushing each other a little bit, Andre challenged Hogan to the title match at WrestleMania 3. And then in what was, of course, the big disgrace to Hogan, not only ripped off his Hulkamania shirt, but as we all know, Tom, and Hogan at this time, like saying your prayers every night, taking your vitamins, ripped off the crucifix that Hogan wears. And so just the ultimate, just slap in the face at that point. So
and caused blood.
Yes. And so that is how we got to this match, like Piper's Pit, a little bit of back and forth over a couple of weeks. So good stuff. But Tom, any other thoughts that you got?
Let me say, if you haven't seen this, or it's been a while since you've seen this, go back and find it. Watch everything that led up to this match. It is so awesome. I mean, it is some of the best build for a match that you'll ever see in your life. Andre wasn't a heel. Heenan was incredible as a manager and on the mic. Hogan had never faced a challenge like this before. Piper added so much to those segments. Tunney was good in his role. Dude, it was incredible. So go back and watch this build. Absolutely incredible. And guess what? It wasn't scripted by 40 writers, on the Raw and SmackDown writing teams. It was, here's where we're going, go make it happen. And a lot of it was just organic, the facial reactions, some of the things that were said. I mean, all of it. It was just awesome, awesome stuff. So if you want to watch with Jeff and I, 2 hours and 43 minutes into WrestleMania 3, it's right as the match is about to start. Hogan's music's still playing. Again, 2 hours, 43 minutes on the dot. So with that being said, it's time for the payoff.
Ho! It's time for the payoff.
All right, everybody, jumping right back into this. And so getting exciting. So we've got both men in the rings already kind of starting.
Look at this. Look at this. Place is going nuts.
So you have fans throwing stuff in the ring, like, just getting excited. Everyone's on their feet, as you can tell, too. Kind of the camera flash is happening as well, too. So here's the iconic image, really. So many people are used to, like, the two men just kind of toe-to-toe, like, face-to-face, chest-to-chest, just kind of staring at each other. Hogan jabbing a little bit there, like, kind of, running his mouth. But Andre, nothing. Just standing there stoic, looking over. You see that little bit of Hulk out there. So, just exciting, like, telling the story in the ring, which is how it should be.
This was the last WrestleMania with the old title belt. Winged Eagle is next year, going for the slam. Boom. Andre on top of 1, 2, barely gets out.
Yeah.
Andre's insisting it was a 3 count.
So this is interesting. So, Tom, I know we had it in our notes. We talked about him briefly here. I'll kind of jump right in. You can see Bobby the Brain on ringside now.
Yes.
Again, what are we feeling? Manager, commentary.
I think Bobby Heenan was a very good manager, and I think he was a far better commentator. If I have my pick between him being ringside or him being on commentary, I'll take commentary every single day. He was incredible on commentary. I want to hear him talk for 3 hours, not standing at ringside. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think
and it sucks because he was a great manager, but if I have to choose, I want him commentating.
Yeah, he belongs on the mic as far as I'm concerned. I think, he set the bar for the heel kind of commentator and what it should be. I feel like Corey Graves isn't close. Like, there's just no...
Oh, God, come on.
Like, one of those. And even, like, we haven't talked about it in a while, but a long time ago when you and I made our day trip and were able to visit and tour the Performance Center, I know we did a quote house show or, just a Performance Center show, and I was on commentary for some of the matches, and I kind of played it up as the heel a little bit, channeling Bobby the Brain. Like, that's who I think of when I think about commentary and, who's being the bad guy. It was him. It was always him for me. And so I think he needs to be on the microphone.
I mean, look, this is not going to be a, spot fest match, but these guys were so over. Andre was just so big. I mean, they have him on the edge of their seat, and, Andre just working him over, and
we're a couple
slam right there.
We're a couple minutes in at this point. Fans are still throwing, like, paper and stuff into the ring because of just, like, how excited they are and what this match was. Because this was, like... This really, I feel like in a lot of ways, put WrestleMania on the map too.
Of course it did.
And so, like, because there was nobody bigger than these two at this time. Like, there were some people that may have had some name recognition, but like in regards to being on TV and who they were, these two were it.
Yeah, well, and remember too. So WrestleMania 1, the big hoopla, Madison Square Garden. I mean, obviously huge success. WrestleMania 2 was in those 3 cities. I mean, nothing good happened on the show. You had Bundy, Hogan in a steel cage. You had the Battle Royal that Andre won. You had the Mr. T. Piper boxing match that sucked. I mean, I couldn't even tell you anything else that really happened. Like Big John Studd. I can't even remember what year that was. Nothing good, though. I mean, it was really just kind of a blah show. So then they come back with this incredible, iconic main event, and they put, 103,000 in this building. Now, Jeff, have you ever been in this building before?
Yes.
Okay. So for what?
Grew up.
How far did you grow up from here?
This was probably about over an hour, maybe an hour and a half from where I grew up.
How far outside Detroit is this?
Very far, actually.
That's what I thought.
People don't realize, like, it was the Detroit Lions who were, many a season here, not winning a championship. And so, but it was like, same with Auburn Hills, which was where the Pistons play. Like, they were about 45 minutes from Detroit. They weren't close. And so, yeah, it was out there. And so, like this. So this was a hike, and there was not much in Pontiac, and so for people to come in like they did, it was a big deal. Like it had so. I was there once or twice for football games, obviously never for a wrestling event. And so those were always at Joe Louis Arena, typically downtown Detroit. And so, yeah, but it was just there was nothing around it. It was a very open area. And then there was just the Silverdome. It was there. And so but it really did set the stage for, what needed to happen.
So, I was never in this building, but I went to the Dallas WrestleMania at Jerry World. Even for a stadium show, even for that building was just bigger.
Yeah.
You go on the floor of WrestleMania in Dallas and you're like, oh my God, I just can't believe how big this place is. Even more so than the other, football stadium shows. I'm assuming this building was kind of similar to that.
Well, and when they did do WrestleMania at Ford Field after they moved from Pontiac, I don't remember feeling that of it was just this huge venue, big boot there by Andre, just put Hogan on his ass. It just felt like, I think maybe I was kind of, just too wrapped up in what was happening, but it just didn't feel like that. It didn't feel, and it wasn't. It's not as big a building, and so that's something.
Well, in WrestleMania 23, I think at one point they were trying to get Hogan Big Show so they could do the slam there, and it never came about. In fact, I don't even think Hogan was on the show at all or even appeared. And they did Kane giving Great Khali a body slam, trying to say it was similar. It was so bad, and they had Aretha Franklin there too. But it's a shame because it would have been really cool to see Hogan there.
Yeah, that was how they did that. Was they flipped those kind of different ways and kind of how they did it. So yeah, absolutely. But yeah, until you said that, I didn't even remember that moment. I just remember so much. That was the hair versus hair match.
Yeah, and it got a great buy rate, that show, and but it just and you had and then that was when they were building the Triple H Cena. Triple H got hurt, so Michaels got thrown into that match.
Yep, and that was it too. So right now, too, to kind of catch you all up, Andre's been fairly dominant in the match to this point, and so he's got
completely dominant.
He's got Hogan in a bear lock or a bear hug. Excuse me. The best way to put it, he's wrapped around Hogan's waist, but Hogan's
not the stiffest looking bear hug, but
no, it's definitely not. But Hogan trying to get a little bit of action here, so
just crazy for as big as Andre is, and he didn't even wear knee pads. Not that he was going on the ground that much, but still, you just think of some of the guys that would certainly need him.
And he, you can tell, this point too, we know, now we know more now looking back on it, but he had to be in so much pain.
So much pain.
They make no secret of that, of kind of how it played out and kind of how.
And I don't think he medicated at all. I mean, obviously drank a ton, but it's not like he was taking painkillers or anything. I mean, he was in so much pain.
Yeah, absolutely.
So still in this bear hug here. Fans going nuts.
So we're starting to hook up a little bit, and so we're starting to get into the final act, the climax of the match a little bit here, because as you might expect, this is not a long one. And so, Tom, I see you've got it in kind of your notes here, talking about tickets. So do you want to?
So one of the things I want to talk about was if you could be front row for any wrestling match in history, what would it be and why? And I'm just hitting this with you right now, so it's not like we had a long time to think about this.
No,
but I'm just curious. And I'll start because part of me was saying, man, I don't know if there's anything I'd rather have attended that I didn't attend than this match. If I could be front row for it, truly not know who's going to win, be in my height of Hulkamaniac fandom, my goodness, would this have been awesome. And certainly this entire show, but this match in particular. What about you?
I would, if I had, just carte blanche to do whatever I wanted with, I would actually prefer to be, to do a Rumble versus a Mania, which might sound a little odd, and, fans chime in, let us know. I think that, at least for, a front row experience of getting to be there. Now, at the same time, I think, a match like this, though, yeah, to be there front row and not kind of know what's. I think there'd be certain people that I would want to see. I don't know, if the Undertaker, especially. I think being kind of front row for something like that.
So he's tried to hit Andre twice now. He's going for a third shoulder block, and boom, Andre hits him with the chop block. I
terrible
remember the chop.
sell.
I mean, how often do you think Andre was on his back? Probably not much.
So few times, yeah.
So I didn't mean to cut you off. Keep going.
No, but even him trying to get up is a lot, and so having no DDPY yoga back then. So yeah, I don't know. I think that there would people I'd want to see versus like so. If there was an Undertaker match, I would want to be there for that. I think obviously you for a Shawn Michaels and you'd want to be there for that. There's just certain people that I think like even like seeing like AJ or something nowadays I think would be really cool. Looking back on it though,
yeah, in history,
some of those like Edge matches though I think would have been, and it's great that he's back.
TLC would have been a fun one to attend.
I think of like the TLC and kind of being there for that. I think even still like some of the it's tough because I think especially in the big venues. And again, a couple weeks now here, we've got exposed concrete on the outside.
Yeah, Hogan trying to do a pile driver on Andre on exposed concrete. Yeah, right. And then Andre obviously flipping him over. Yeah, not the best looking
That
thing
didn't look
ever,
great,
but
yeah.
you get the idea. It's funny how small Hogan looks, and what is he, like 6'6", 300 pounds or whatever?
Right,
And he looks tiny right now.
Well, and we go back to, we've talked about it before, but the guard railing and then being right on top of everything, and then not true guardrails either. Like, it is the metal slatted ring or posts, yeah.
So I came across something interesting in Mad Magazine. They had an article about WrestleMania, and they said, they were like, one of the funniest things is that Hulk Hogan, the immortal Hulk Hogan, became the first man to ever body slam the 7'4", 520-pound Andre the Giant before 93,000 fans to hand the big man the first loss of his career. It sets the all-time record for the most lies in a single sentence.
So, which is true. So we've got
Hulk Hogan is not immortal, although he's great.
Yep.
He was not the first man to body slam Andre. There weren't 93,000 fans there. It wasn't his first loss of his career. Otherwise, true.
So we got Andre's on his back now. He's starting to slowly get up. Hogan hulking out. And so...
Here we go. Body slam. Boom. Got him. And that wasn't even like the Lex Yoko hip toss. That was a body slam. Boom. Leg drop on top of him. 1, 2, 3. Place goes freaking nuts. Place going berserk, not even playing music. Handing him the old belt. Jesse Ventura calling this like a sport is so good. Yeah. Hogan looks like he's crying.
The winner of the bout, and still
Bob Uecker.
Wrestling Federation Heavyweight Champion, Hulk Hogan!
Howard Finkel standing next to him looking pissed off. Do you know who that referee is?
I didn't even see it.
It's Joey Morella, who's Gorilla Monsoon's son, tragically passed away.
Yeah.
I want to say mid-90s, if I'm not mistaken. But there he is, man. Place going nuts for Hulk Hogan. Incredible.
So this is one where we'll turn it down a little bit here. The story, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in the aftermath, was, of course, with the slam. Hogan has said since that pretty much when he did kind of got him up off his feet, he said that he could feel pretty much every muscle in his side. He literally felt it like a ripping from the bone.
Yeah, half of what he says is bullshit. So
right. And so, but I'm sure it hurt like hell. Andre, that was interesting. A fan actually pushing Andre a little bit.
Andre angry. Heenan looks distraught. I mean, the visual of them going. I mean, look at this. The cinematography in this, for lack of a better term, is just incredible. I mean, look at that visual. This is before HD cameras. The building's not well lit, but some of the images from this match, like when Hogan first wins and rolls over, the body slam, the face-to-face, the beginning, Andre leaving on the cart after, it's absolutely incredible. So let's jump into the aftermath.
Ho! It's time for the
awesome
aftermath.
Match. Jesse Ventura calling it like a damn sport. Look at the size of the giant. I just love it, man. There is nothing quite like this. Absolutely incredible. We still have Hulk Hogan posing in the ring. Awesome, awesome, awesome stuff. Jeff, get into the aftermath of this historic main event.
Yeah, so this was one, of course, just absolutely gigantic. And so the angle after this match was that, Andre, getting ahead of myself at this point, that these two actually, they had a rematch that was one of the most watched wrestling matches pretty much ever.
In history, sure.
The numbers, it says 33 million.
Saturday night's main event.
And so, kind of different thing. And so, that was actually February 5th, 1988. And so, it was almost practically a year after this match happened.
Because they put him with DiBiase for SummerSlam, I believe.
And there was a little bit of a storyline.
And then they continued in the Survivor Series. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Hogan lost via disqualification or counter or something. So I think Andre's team technically won. But then, Hogan beat everyone up afterwards.
It was all super weird. So, But of course, you had Andre, who ended Hogan's 4-year run as the champ. This is, of course, a future episode that we will get to at some point.
Absolutely.
This was the twin Hebners of Earl and Dave, and so and that one being counted out a little bit weird. We actually had a brief conversation with Earl about that one, and so just kind of really fun, but definitely a match that we will talk about in future. But at this time, though, you had really Andre and Hogan putting WrestleMania on the map. Really, Andre, though, not in great health. We know the stories nowadays, just really struggling a lot of times. There were some different matches that he was in over the years. Some Survivor Series as well. Kind of winning a match there. Some different things, too. You had with Hacksaw Jim Duggan, some things happening there. Just a lot of different things with these guys kind of being involved with each other. Hogan, as well, to dealing with one-man gang. Just a lot of different things and how it played out. Now, like Tom alluded to a little bit here, you did have Ted DiBiase at this time. What it was it kind of working some different angles with the belt and kind of, I don't want to get too much into that match, but there was some weird stuff happening. But of course, like Tom said, it was the case with him getting involved in what happened there. So eventually, too, you had some different different matches. The following WrestleMania, you had the belt was vacated, and so you had some different things with Macho Man, Ted DiBiase, just a lot of really random things here. It was actually a couple of, quit wrestling, Andre did, but it was 1993 when he did eventually die from heart failure. It was kind of a weird story because he was in town for his dad's funeral and died while he was there. And so just kind of weird how this played out, but we know, the trajectory that Hogan ended up on at this point and kind of what happened, and lots to that story, but, really good stuff either way. So, Tom, what thoughts do you have?
Yeah, I'll get into more of my thoughts when I get my payoff score. I wanted to share, I came across a couple interesting Vince McMahon quotes, and, Vince doesn't talk much and isn't in public much, so when you come across some things that are candid comments of him, I always find them interesting. In terms of convincing Andre to come back for this match, Vince would say, Andre knew that he wasn't long for the world and he was hurting. He was really, really hurting, and I went over to visit with him. And Andre told me, I'm done, boss. When he said done, he meant not just wrestling. After this, I'm done. Basically, I'm going to die. He told me about his neck and his back and things of that nature and what it would take to have it fixed, but he was not interested at all. And when I spoke to him about, well, here's why I came over, because there's a building in Pontiac, Michigan that holds 93,000 people, and I think we could set up the promotion correctly, and I think it would sell out. Andre wanted to have a reason to live, not a reason to die. And he knew, wow, I could have a new lease on life if I could get through this operation. The allure of Hogan pulled Andre through. So this match almost didn't happen. Pretty crazy. there was also another quote I thought was interesting too, regarding Andre resenting Vince a little bit when his career winded down. Vince would say, when his career was over, he had no value to himself. No longer am I going to be around the boys and socializing and things of that nature. I'm stuck here in North Carolina, and I was responsible for the fact that business was good and everybody was going on without him. Andre more or less wanted to blame me and resented me a bit because he knew that the business was going on without him. Andre resented that a bit too, that his time was up, damn it, and yet I was going to continue on. And sometimes it can even be a situation whereby, what? You used me. No longer when I was in Andre's presence was it a warm admiration that we had for each other. It wasn't there. Man, that's pretty powerful stuff because, Vince is running a business. He gave this guy opportunities. He obviously paid him well, and it's not that Andre disliked Vince or felt like he was screwed. It's just it was probably tough for him to see the business continue without him, and he physically couldn't do anything about it. He couldn't travel, let alone wrestle, and just really tough. Aging's tough, but man, I can't imagine the amount of pain that he was in because of his size and some of his challenges. So really sad stuff. Obviously, if you haven't done so, or even if you've done so but it's been a while, go watch that HBO documentary on Andre. It was really, really good. So, Jeff, I'm going to have you go first. Payoff score. What do you have, and why do you have it?
I'll say, too, that this match predated a lot of the reviews, and so that's why we don't have any true kind of full write-up from the newsletter or the torch or anything like that. I'm gonna say like a 6.5. 6.5. I think that the match itself was not like great. I mean, it was, Hogan had two moves really. But I think that you can't underestimate like just how big the match was in its moment. And I think playing it that way and kind of looking at it that way, I think 6.5 just because. I'm judging that purely based on just kind of the in-ring kind of action. Of course, we could take kind of whatever we want into account, but I just think this is one that, yes, it absolutely is a big deal to wrestling history. It's one that I would tell anybody, go back, watch, don't miss it. You kind of have to, absolutely, because of just how it holds up, but I can't give it kind of more than that just because it wasn't a great match. There wasn't, a ton that kind of came after it, but it did set a very interesting kind of precedent and for kind of what it was. So 6.5 for me. How about you, Tom?
So do you know that, and again, it's not available in his archives that we use, but do you know that Meltzer did give this a star rating?
I did not. Obviously, I couldn't find it.
He gave this, and I'm not making this up, he gave it a -4-star rating and said it was the worst worked match of the year.
Interesting.
What do you think of that, Jeff?
I think in regards to in-ring kind of quality, sure. I think the in-ring storytelling, no. Andre just, it kind of, you got to, what were you expecting is the question. I know in my shoot job, you have to ask that a lot for some people that they're not happy or, kind of something happening. It's like, well, what were your expectations anyways? Like, Andre wasn't about to be flying off the top rope. Like, that's not what Hogan did either. And so I think kind of, keeping your expectations in check on this one is super important because, otherwise, you're going to think it's terrible. So I think that's just being shitty to be shitty.
All right. So we found out today that Dave Meltzer's been a dirtbag for over 30 years now. Here's what I think. All right. The build to this match was one of the best builds to a big match in history. Can't deny that. Okay. Again, maybe you didn't like it. I'm not saying it's a fact. I'm just telling you that, in my opinion, this is one of the best builds ever. Go back and take out your top WrestleMania matches of all time, the biggest matches of all time. Watch the builds. If this isn't the best, it's pretty darn close, okay? The fans are going nuts. The match, Andre could barely move. It was not a good 5-star plunder, big spot, skipping, jumping, top rope, stuff. But it was 12 minutes long. The fans loved it. They went nuts at the end. There was genuine shock that Andre lost and Hogan won, even though Hogan had been champ for a few years. There's iconic moments throughout the match, like the slam, like them facing off, like Andre pissed off being carted away after, Hogan celebrating in the ring, people going nuts that I'll never forget the rest of my life. The aftermath to this, they continued for another year. You got the double Hebner stuff, which was one of the coolest angles in the history of wrestling. So, Jeff, to me, this is about as good as professional wrestling gets, and I have my payoff at a 10.
First 10 for you. Wow.
This is my first 10.
Shocking.
This is just incredible. This is just iconic. We'll never forget it. In a lot of ways, in my mind at least, nothing will ever top this. It changed the trajectory of the company. It made Hulkamania 110% Hulkamania. It immortalized him, if you will. It made Andre, known to everyone. And I don't know how much love there'd be for Andre if he hadn't come back and wrestled in this match and stuck around, because a lot of fans would have never really seen him or known much about him. Dude, this to me is just absolutely fantastic. I love it. And I got this thing overall, when you factor in the crowd and the size of the event and the magnitude of it and the visuals from this and the fact that we're still talking about it and how that slam is so iconic, man, this to me is professional wrestling. And again, my payoff score on this is a 10. I absolutely fucking love it.
Look at you.
That's all I got.
That's good stuff. And so that's exciting, though. It's the first 10 for you. I've given 2 out. So there you go. So, all right. Good stuff, everybody. As always, appreciate you guys kind of tuning in, listening, checking this out. This was just a fun one to watch. And even go back, watch it if you haven't. And even if it's a long time, it is a short one. It's worth it to check it out, kind of see what's going on. So, of course, subscribe if you aren't already. Give us those 5 stars. Spread the word about the show at Payoff Pod. You can find us, of course, too. You want to reach, kind of connect with Hogan. We've talked about it before. We just at Hulk Hogan on Twitter. Take some time, kind of reach out to him as well. Kind of drop a line. Of course, he's, as we've said before, very active on Twitter and very active in some storylines too recently. So, always good stuff. So, kind of with that, Tom, do you got some kind of you and me, irresistible force, immovable object? You got something to move here and send us home? Well,
you kind of stole my line. What I was going to say is, Jeff, you are the immovable object to my irresistible force.
Put it on a Valentine's Day.
Dun, dun. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, as always, for joining us on The Payoff.